All right, so Bluegrass Martial Arts Seminar Series, hopefully the first of several, and we'll be looking today at the single stick. What this is it is the supplemental information that we use in our classes, because of course we are a Kempo karate school. We're not, a stick fighting school, but we do a lot with weapons. So I found the popularity of what we were doing with the weapons as we would go through this content year after year after year. Sometimes we didn't get through all of the same material from one year to the next. So the request was that we have a recorded actual, like all of the single stick material, because we only do it for about two months at a time, and then we switch weapons, right? This being like the full, okay, if we actually got through all of the content that I have in 2 months, this would be it. And there's more than we can get through in 2 months, because as this was developed, originally all we did all year was a single stick. So that's why there's 12 flow patterns that we'll be looking at, because there was one for every month. And then as I, built on other weapons, I was like, nah, we want to do double stick. We added that, and so it kind of built itself out, and that's how we got where we are. My own training's in arnis de mano. My instructor, Kevin Lampkin, has, authorized in that. And a lot of what we're doing is taking those same patterns and then just showing how they can be done on the mirror side of what they're doing. In fact, I'm using a lot of Kempo concepts and how we kind of break something down in such a way that we can take those parts and then use them in another format. So with that said, we're going to start with the arnis de mano salutation. And it happens in 9 steps. They're kind of in groups of 3. The first 3 look like this. You'll take the stick in your right hand, it points towards the floor. Your left hand reaches up to the sky. This is step 1. In step 2, you bring the stick up between the eyes and your left hand by your stomach. In step 3, you drop the right hand into the left, right? This is like the opening formal in a group setting. This is essentially like, because it's from the Philippines being a Christian nation, right? So there's this idea that God is involved in everything we do, right? So this connection between heaven and earth right here, one up, one down. We want that knowledge to the mind, and we cherish it in the heart. That's essentially the first 3 steps, right? The second 3 steps are how you would approach a partner, training partner. You would step back with the right foot, and you take the stick, and it comes up level across your eyes. It's like bowing down to your partner. Step 4. Step 5, again, we drop the stick down, and your left hand reaches forward, and this is like offering the hand of friendship to that training partner. And then you bring the feet together, and horizontally above the eyes, this comes across, and the other hand is in this particular form of salutation. Somehow you'll just see these 3 moves when 2 people get together to train. They'll go here, here, and here, right? Before they start training together. So that second set of the 3 can be like with your training partner. And then the last set from here, we step back. This is a defensive position. So it's kind of like our reverse bow. And the hand is up by your back ear, and the weapon is behind you. And we lean forward to that forward bow, and we touch the stick towards the ground, and the other hand covers the eyes. And then you pull the left foot up, you do a big circle, and it's a downward cut from the left to the right, diagonal. That's the last 3 steps to it. And this is in the sense of battle. You're essentially saying, defensively, you don't want to battle, but if you have to, you recognize we're all mortal. It may cost you your life, right? But if that's the case, your spirit is eternal and unconquerable, right? That's the whole thing, the 9 steps. So all together it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, right? And that is the arnis de mano official salutation, right? Now, from there, just some basics with the sticks. We want to have a little bit of what we call a puño, which is a space at the bottom at least 3 fingers worth of grip, maybe 4. So you don't want to grab the stick flush. That gives you a little more range, but what you lose by not having the puño won't be worth it. You want to have a little bit of real estate down here at the bottom. Not much, but just some. And then as we swing the stick, you want to lead with that puño end, right? So if you're hitting upward, we want that to kind of lead the way along the angle. We want the puño end to lead the way along the angle. You don't want to swing with the tip leading the way, right? If you swung up this way and hit something, it would just come right out of your own hands, right? That would strip you. So you always want to turn, right? You can also think of like showing the knuckles. As you're hitting upward or hitting downward, we want the puño to lead the way on those striking angles. If we're just receiving instruction, like to stand at attention, you put the stick in the opposite armpit and it reaches around and just kind of grabs your own wrist like this. This is just so the stick's not like swinging around when you're not actively using it, right? It's a way to stand with this. We want to look at the angles of attack that we have. There are 20 directions that you can hit on, and there are 12 official angles, because the way it works, an angle could also have a reverse to it. So the angle 1 starts high on the right side, and it cuts diagonally down to the left. That's what we call our angle 1, this downward diagonal from right to left. And if we reverse that, we can come back up, right? So there's already 2 directions you can move on that first angle. Down from the right to the left, or up from the left to the right. Angle 2 is its opposite. We start on the left side, high on the left, and come down on the right. And of course we can reverse that and come back up that same line also. So it can go downward or it can come back up again, right? That angle 2. Just doing your angle 1 and 2 cuts that X, that figure 8, right in front, or you can come back upward on those lines for angle 2 and angle 1 also, and cutting upward, downward on the figure 8, right? Angle 3 is horizontal, high to the head, coming across, or the neck, and the reverse is going the other way. So how we'll refer to it is with angle 1 and 2, we'll say it's either downward or upward, right? Because that's the difference there, is whether it's descending on that line or it's ascending along that line. Same thing with 2. It's descending on that line or it's ascending on that line. So it'll say either upward, 1 or 2, and we won't use the upward angles much for these patterns. You see those a lot with the other weapons, like the staff. Some of the longer weapons, we use the upwards more. Most of what we'll be doing will be downward angle 1 and 2. With angle 3, though, we'll have both inward, angle 3, and outward, right, on the reverse. So inward, since it's in my right hand, coming towards my center line, that's inward. Coming towards the middle, inward. Outward is going away from the center line, right? So we have in, we have out, high to the head is 3. Same thing, horizontal, but lower to the waist, in and out, that's our angle 4. Line 4, in and out. 5 is a thrust. We have a few of them that, as we call them attacking angles, are really thrust lines, right? 5 is center line, about middle level thrust. 6 and 7 are also thrusts. We don't use them as much with the sticks. We'll have them show up each in one of the patterns. 6 comes inward here. And if you're facing someone, you would be thrusting from there, you'd be thrusting into their left side, and the target would be under the arm, right? So this is under the arm coming in horizontally. 7 is the opposite side, going outward horizontally and thrusting right underneath the arm. So you have 6 coming in, we have 7 coming out this way. Then 8 is across the knees. So again, our horizontal line, inward and outward. We have going into the knee and outward to the knee. And again, we won't see a whole lot of 8s, but we do a lot of 8s when we have a longer weapon, such as the staff. Same angles, in and out with 8. 9 is like 5. It's a center line thrust, but it's high. This one to the throat or to the face is a 9, high thrust, right? High thrust, and that leads us to the thrusts on 10 and 11. And these two are the only two that I'm a little bit, they're not my favorite ones, honestly. The 10 and 11 are thrusting essentially on the 1 and 2 lines, right? 1 and 2. They're the only ones I'd say I'm critical of, just because this is our angle 1. The thrust could just be a thrust on angle 1. We don't need another angle for it, right? Same with 2. That's our angle 2. Our thrust could be a thrust on angle 2. But for arnis de mano, they call this a 10, coming in this way, and they call this an 11, thrusting this way, right, on the backhand. Same line as the 1 and 2, but it's a thrust, right? And then 12 is straight along the center line, down or coming up. And there's 4 ways you can do 12 from what we call an open position or a closed position. Open position, the tip of the stick is outside the center line. Closed, it's across the center line. So if I'm in open position, I can hit down, right? If I'm in open position, I can hit up. But from closed position, I can hit down. And from closed position, I can come straight up on that center line. There's really 4 ways you can do that, just that line of angle 12. So there you go. That's 20 directions that you can hit on with the 12 angles that we use in arnis de mano. We also want to look at the defensive positions that we're going to have for our stick stuff, and we're gonna hang out in this area quite a bit, right? Our defensive positions, our main ones, are for the high lines. We have what we call the roof. The roof is coming up like a high block. Your front hand's coming up, and we're holding it. It should be out in front of you, but above your head. You want to be able to see it with your peripheral vision, right? So it doesn't do me any good if it's directly above my head. I can't see what's going on. It's got to be a little bit out in front of you that way. We also want to hold the stick horizontally when they make contact with it, whatever defense you're doing. This would be for any descending. If it's an angle 12, if it's an angle 1, right? I can stop it with the roof. When they make contact, it's going to give a little bit. You're going to have a little bit of compromising that perfect horizontal. But if I start with it that way, and then they make contact, this whole thing buckles. You lose your entire frame. So you want to think of it as hold it horizontal as you make contact, and that way it'll keep its frame better. It'll bend a little bit, but it won't fold on you completely, right? So we have what we call the roof, right? That's protecting from your center line over to the left. We also can do the same type of motion, turning the hand like an uppercut and coming up. You want your arm on the left side of your face, because you want, again, this to be able to cover your center line, but now over to the right side. We call this the shield. Holds up like a shield. And again, I want to keep this as flat as I can horizontally. And when they make contact with it, again, it'll bend down a little bit, but if you come up with it already compromised, it'll just completely fold on you, right? So you want to keep it as best you can horizontal as it comes up. So that's our roof, covers the left side, center to the left. Shield covers the right side, from the center to the right, right? But they're both essentially this rising block, right? That's for the high line. For the middle line, or from the face down to the, I guess, middle of the torso, we have what we call the inward and the outward sweeps. So like a wall, it's moving side to side, right? As they're attacking inward, this comes across and stops, or outward. Inward coming across the center line, protecting the left side. Outward comes out and protects the other side, right? We can also, if we need to go lower, turn it upside down. And we have what we call the wing. Wing covering the left side, or the inward wing. Outward wing comes back across, right? So you've got 6 main basics that cover the whole body. You got your roof, your shield, your inward sweep, your outward sweep, your low wing, inward wing, and your outward wing. We're going to see all of these, right? The other important idea here is what the left hand will do, and we'll see some of that as we get into the actual contact with the attackers, right? But this back hand has a job also. It's what we call the live hand. So while your stick's doing a good bit of the work, there are points where the live hand has to come out and check the opponent's arm also. And one of the things the live hand can do, particularly when you're looking at your inward and your inward wing, inward sweep and inward wing, is it can also reinforce if it needs to, right? It can just simply cover behind, and this creates a stronger, if you need a stronger position, if this is starting to flex towards you, you can come up and use your forearm as an extra base. Same is true for the low wing. I can come down and use the forearm to reinforce this position, right? And to do it on the other side, you'll actually have to advance, which we do. If I need to advance, if I need to support this, reinforce, I'll advance, right? Because this is too much twisting here. So I'd step forward, turning towards the attacker this way. And same thing with the low wing, outward wing, if I had to do that, right? So you can use that live hand also to reinforce these positions. But each time we're in those positions, you'll see the live hand has a specific job, right? The last one we have are what we call the interceptions or the destructions, right? So, Thomas, where's your glove? I'm gonna need your glove.
Which hand?
Right hand.
Right hand glove.
For the destructions, most basic idea here, what we're gonna see in our flow patterns is that at least all the defensive positions, you can take their weapon away, right? You can remove their weapon from them. But you always have the option, if he's trying to hit you with the stick, just instead of meeting the stick, hitting the hand, right? You crack the fingers, he's gonna drop the stick. So that's always an option too, right? And that's what we call a destruction or an interception. So anytime we're doing these angles, you can also be hitting them in the hand rather than connecting with the stick. And we have a few of these defenses that are going to involve those interceptions. If he does an angle 4, yeah, that outward 4 where he's sitting across here, we have what we call the drop stick. It comes down. That'll defend on the stick, but that can also be cracking the hand at the same time, right? If he's coming in high horizontal, yeah, hitting here to the neck, we have what we call the pass and meet. So one hand throws it in the direction it's coming, right? Just kind of moves right outside the edge, and we pass it by. The other one intercepts as it passes. And that's another one of our distractions. Same idea if he's coming low. I can pass over the top also. So that can happen high and low, and we'll see both of those options. And then the last one, if he thrusts in, we have the abanico, right? The fanning motion, which will use that outward wing idea, followed immediately by a hit to the hand. So some of those will also show up in our flow patterns at some point.